So we are back with part 2 of BDSM001. I hope you went and watched it. It's in our channel's video logs. This will get its own playlist by the time you're probably watching this. So that's how important we truly believe this is. So we're going to get right back to the video where I left off. It wasn't this one. It was actually this one. So I'm going to step out and let me take over from the past to educate you all on BDSM001.
No one owns BDSM. It does not matter your kink or fetish. It does not matter your title or honorific. It doesn't matter when you join this lifestyle community or any other position you consider yourself in. What matters is your connection to your kinks, your fetishes, your connection to BDSM. It matters how you've sought out education for everything under the umbrella that interests you. It matters that you obey the boundaries of others and set your own, and only play when you have consent. DIPE, did I ask permission? It doesn't matter the acronym you use as long as you're using a knowledge, an ideology that will keep you and your playmates safe. But no one will ever own BDSM. There are no monarchs or presidents, dictators, mayors, or anyone else that can tell you how to play. As long as you're not hurting your partners, doing the best to keep play continuing with those play partners and playmates, then you're fine. Cross those lines and you're going to get a different type of handcuffing. Your connection to BDSM will always be personal and your own, unique to only you. You might even find playmates that share most of it, but no one is like you. You are a kinky snowflake. And your connection to BDSM will never be like anyone else's because yours is so personal. And it's very different at times from everyone else's. And sometimes you're going to get lucky and find play partners or playmates that share so much with you. Know your risk profiles and your play profiles. Never let anyone make you feel like an outsider or shame you for your kink. And never do that to anyone else because you wouldn't like it done to you. Explore your desires and find out what works for you and satisfies you and allows you to be a fulfilled kinkster. So go out there with the knowledge that you don't have to bow to anyone, but you have to listen to make sure they're not telling you something that's important. Don't be closed-minded, but don't let people beat ideas into you. Remember your connection to everything under the BDS umbrella that you are attracted to and drawn to. Might feel like it's your own, but it's shared by others. You can have an opinion, but you can't shame anyone else. You can't tell anyone else what they're allowed to do. And you don't get to tell anyone else, nor do they get to tell you how you have to live in the realm of the BDSM that's under the umbrella. Because the simple truth is, no one owns BDSM. Not even you. Just your own connection to it.
To be clear, this video is going to piss some people off. Let's get it. I, the Kink Educator, say this loudly, and I want everyone to hear it. Using any form of drug, alcohol, weed, and anything above and below that is not a prescription drug, and even prescription drugs should be told to the people that you're going to be playing with, so they're aware of potential risks to the scene itself. And if you have to get stoned to relax to play, you're kind of missing something, but this might offend, I don't care. And it might be different for people who've established a dynamic and are more into each other. But even then, I do not believe that alcohol or any drug should be involved. As a matter of fact, using any drug can negate consent. That's right. And don't think it's just the tops on the hot seat here. Tops have to consent to play with someone. If you're using a vape pen to get stoned and not telling the top, you just violated their consent. And I'm not talking about getting rid of pot or alcohol. I'm not an abolitionist. I believe that's what they were called. Here's the simple truth about what alcohol and other drugs do to the body. It can lessen your response, reaction time. It can make you not be of a mindset that will be advantageous for play. We all know that alcohol and other drugs make a person less responsive. They are mentally slower. It reduces the ability for decision making, and actually decision making that they would actually be happy with. Because we've all had the drunk or stoned friend who did some stupid shit. Luckily for my generation, we didn't have flip phones that took videos for the most part. Now you all got iPhones and catch all your friends doing dumb stuff, and I watch it on YouTube. And this all sounds funny, but let's get serious for a second. This can hurt people. You can hurt people. I have watched drunk people do dumb things and have partners that forgive them. I've heard the horror stories of the person who gets played with that is submissive, that gets beaten so badly when they wake up in the morning, they're ready to call the police because they don't remember agreeing to things. And those are two or more favorable stories. There's much worse, but I'm not going to share those. If you need to take the edge off of play, then you don't understand play, in my opinion. If you need to get high or drunk to enjoy play, then you're not enjoying play. You're literally dampening your senses. I don't know about you, but let's change this for a second, right? Would you get into a car with someone who's drunk? I wouldn't. Not if they were driving. What about an airplane? What about a person operating on you? Let me tell you, the one thing BDSM is, it's a skill. We don't talk about that enough. What we do in BDSM is skill-based. And I don't want someone drinking, playing with any of my friends, anyone I care about, or certainly not playing with me. And I don't want the people I'm playing with to have something that is dampering their mind, their feeling, because they might not feel things the same way. They might not feel when they pull something or hurt something. This all sounds horrific to me. I don't know why we have these debates in communities. I don't get it. Oh, I'm better when I'm drunk. No, you think you're better. Let me tell you how many people say they're better and they're not. They're funnier. They might be funnier, but they're not better. I'll tell you that. And before you hit me with your kink is not my kink, this is a danger. This is a red flag. If someone needs to get drunk to play with you, run. And I know some people are going to be upset about it. Your kink is not my kink, but this isn't about kink. This is actually about legal standard. You're not allowed to drink when stoned. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to drive when you've been drinking and drunk or stoned. And yes, I could have re-recorded that, but it's sometimes good to see that none of us are perfect. This is how I am sober. Imagine if I were stoned or drunk. Good God. Now, of course, I'm trying to be funny and liven this up, but the truth is drinking's not a good thing. I learned that at 16 when I became an alcoholic. You do not want to drink and play. You do not want to get stoned and play. You don't want to use other drugs and play. It affects your body. Now, let me hit you with the legal standpoint. You play with someone when you're both drunk, they wake up very injured and have to go to the hospital. Let's just pretend consent is going to be agreed upon, and your partner is very big on it. We're not going to turn this into a consent issue for a second. When you go to that hospital, you're even in more shit now, because when they find out you've been drinking, they're going to ask, well, should you be drinking during that? And the answer is no, you shouldn't be. Let's go to the consent thing. Around the world, especially in the United States, they are trying to make someone not pass if they have been drinking. I don't have a problem with this. Honestly, I don't think you should. As we've all learned in the BDSM communities, subspace is like our version of being drunk and is dangerous enough. But we understand that that's a natural side effect of everything we're doing. Now mix subspace with any substance and you can make a good journey into a bad one very quickly. You can also confuse the mind. They might not know what they're saying. Inhibitions are lower. I mean, this sounds creepy if you need to get some of your playmates lubricated with alcohol to play, or stoned so they're happy enough to play with you. Like, I can't. This makes me cringe. I recently saw someone who was educating in a educational manner, was teaching a class, and they were drinking. And I mean, hey, new people to the community, let's all have a drink and talk about how we're going to play. Not a good thing. I'd even go as far as to say that no parties, dungeons, events should have alcohol with them outside of maybe munches. And that should be very case-by-case basis. From going to as many munches as I have, drinking's still not a good idea. It sometimes brings out the worst in people. And maybe it's a good way to check their character. Wow. So, now I know everyone's gonna be like, but when you're stoned, you're so chill, you're so okay, you're so just mellow. And when you're that chill and that mellow, someone can take advantage of you. And it's never going to be your fault. Look, here's the real deal about life. It's never going to be your fault when someone does something shitty. It's just the truth. It's always going to be the asshole. But you don't have to go out unprotected. You know what I'm saying? We lock our doors so we have a car in the morning and it doesn't get either stolen or rifled through. I made that mistake already, and my car was rifled through. So it didn't make me at fault. It just means do something to protect myself. So this is a protect yourself moment. Do not play with people who have been using substances. It is that simple. If someone is teaching a class and they're on a substance, this might shock you, but I'm going to tell you to sit through the rest of the class. There might be something educational there. But this is now a grain of salt moment, because if they couldn't stay sober enough to be on point and just ready to teach you, how much value do they put in their own words? This is not to pick on people. This is a fucking wake-up call. I take everything about this lifestyle, about my kinks, and about my community very seriously. I know people have gotten hurt because of alcohol. It's disgusting. It's disgusting that people could do that. I've had someone who got stoned, didn't tell me, and we played, and something was off, and I called it off, just backing out, because it didn't seem right. Things were moving in a way I wasn't comfortable with. Found out a few weeks later, they casually told me when they were stoned again that they were stoned while we were playing. This was very upsetting to me. I felt like my consent had been violated because I would have never played with someone. Pot is now kind of a very scary thing. Because alcohol we can kind of smell, you can kind of see, but there are some potheads that are functioning, and there are some alcoholics who are functioning too. But the alcoholics always still have that little thing. The people doing weed, it's scary, and it's not fair, and it's not something you should be doing. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I get anxiety, and this helps with anxiety. Look, you're all adults. You want to try to go that route as a submissive, be honest. If you want to, as an adult, because that's all that should be doing this is 18 and plus. We've gone over this, adults only. So if you want to be a top who's going to get stoned and play with someone or drink, both ways, you better tell them what you've been up to. Because if you don't tell them, you've already destroyed the idea of consent because you didn't give them all the information. There's nothing positive about getting drunk except for people saying they're more comfortable. You know what I'm more comfortable with? People not getting hurt in the community. That's what I'm comfortable with. So why don't we aim higher? To be clear, this video is going to piss some people off. Let's get it. So let me be your savior when it comes to kink in this Kink 001 with definitions and understanding of the language we speak. And look, we're going to go over a few of those in this module, BDSM001. But the real supervillain is misunderstanding. See, what happens is people define words differently, regionally, internationally, and even sometimes from different slices of the community to the other, even though they're in the same state. We see this a lot. So the most important thing I'm going to tell you right now, before we get into definitions, which, by the way, you can find a whole lot of definitions that are important over in our playlist. Go to our main profile, channel profile. Just look at the bottom, right when the actual videos start, right where they start, right on top of that is something called playlists. One of those is the Kinktionary. Well, it's the way it's pronounced is Kinkonary. Kinktionary just became too long, but I often refer to it lovingly as the Kinktionary or the Kinkonary. And it has all the words that you need, and it's defined, and we do try to update them as things evolve. But most importantly is going to be about how you and your play partner or dynamic partner define these words. So sit down with each other, especially the ones that can get misconception. Like, to them, what's a hard limit? Make sure you understand those things. What's a soft limit? What does consent look like? These are things that you need to know from your partner. Also, what do they define? A slave, a master? And this will bring up great bigger conversations. Don't adjust your screen. Just want to pop in here really quickly and kind of talk to you about where we're at right now. It's just a little bit of a change. I'm trying to walk us away from even the idea of there being a soft limit and a hard limit. I want limits to just be limits. And we're developing better language every day for teaching purposes and for safety purposes. And right now on actually Photoshop on the computer right next to me, we're actually doing this right now. And what I want it to become for this, when it comes to limits and all that, there are the green lit things. This is going to be more for, just as a heads up, the idea of playing with someone and not building a dynamic. So green lit, there'll be green lit things, green lighted things, meaning you can go. There'll be limits. Now, limits are important because limits aren't always what you can do, but how much of it you can do. So I want to kind of make limits be like, okay, you can do this, but here's the limit to it. In other words, you can take out a paddle, but I don't want you hitting me hard. I need warm up. Here are the limits. So you're kind of establishing things. So limits are going to be establishing what something can be used and all that, and how it can be used on the level, even the level of pain. I don't want you hitting me as hard as you can. As a matter of fact, I want you to walk me through and let's build up to where I'm comfortable. This is why we use negotiation, the needs, the expectations, and wants in a scene. And this is where we'll work out limits. Boundaries are things that's it. You can't do this. This is a boundary. This is where play ends. You do this, you're a consent violator. You do this, you're violating my consent. I do not consent to this. And one of the things I want to kind of look at kind of adding is maybe something called locked. So this is something that's locked for now. I can't figure out if I want to do lock or cage. Stay with us as we're developing this because it's new language and we'll test this with the audience. Locked or caged. It's something that can be released at one point, but that's going to take more negotiation. So just wanted to update you that we are working on some of the language here and just pop up and say, hey, just know this. And it's all right there. Plus, we have the Kinkonary on our site. If you go to Kink, K-I-N-K, 4, all, A-L-L.site, you'll actually find a way to get to the Kinkonary, which we update. These are the tools. Language is a tool in BDSM. You got to make sure you guys are using this same tool. Just because it says a wrench, it might not be the same wrench. So make sure you're using the same words, or at least understanding how your partner means them, and then adapt to each other's language so you're both calling out what you mean. Perfect example of this that we have talked about and will continue to talk about in this channel is in this lifestyle. Sometimes stop doesn't mean stop. Sometimes it literally means keep going. But you only know that when you go negotiate with your partners and understand what each other mean by the word and how the word should be used in your dynamic. So let me be your savior when it comes to kink in this Kink 001. So this is a great comment that says, let me play become the high you're looking for. What is exactly aftercare? So this is a great comment that people feel uneasy. It's a stress hormone is released into our body. Later, as we're explaining your body and chemicals, but this is like an intro to what's going to go on with your body. Okay, so there is something called subspace. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. So the bottom can experience something called subspace. Now, while we play, adrenaline is released into our body, especially if the bottom is enduring impact. They are getting stimuli that causes the body to release ephedrins. It releases adrenaline. It releases a few other chemicals, and all the chemicals it's releasing are going to be these amazing kind of like get all like hyper. For some, it's also like almost like a calming, because at the same time we're getting all these chemicals that can make us feel a little, well, high. There's also cortisol and some other chemicals like that are released in our body that are can actually, cortisol, just so we know right now, it's a stress hormone. It can affect your memory. Cortisol also has a tendency to try to calm a person. Cortisol could have that. It's really a weird chemical, because too much of it really does affect your memory. It's what releases when we're nervous all the time. It's a stress hormone that ultimately is somewhat supposed to make us feel better, but really doesn't, not in high doses. It's a lot with your fight or flight. So there's a whole bunch of chemicals going on in the body. Now, this is why some people might have bad seeing experiences where everything is done right, that they suddenly get very nervous and have anxiety attacks. Perfectly normal. This is something that is a chemical play. It's one of the risks of what we do in kink. It makes people feel uneasy and kind of, well, off balance. But it also can give you an amazing high. Now, sub drop, this is something that will happen when all the chemicals go away. And after you have a great high, and even if you bottom out at normal, it's going to feel like something's not right. It feels lesser than. Even if you're back to normal because you're on such a high, subspace is this. You can look up runner's high for more information on it. Again, we're going to keep it simple here, but basically you've been made to feel high from all the chemicals. So we're going to cross the street over into sub drop, which is where all these chemicals leave. Even if you get back to the starting point, like neutral, like, the base level, it's going to feel like something's gone. Some people might experience where depression can fill in, and they suddenly feel very emotional. They feel depressed. This is a natural occurrence. There's nothing wrong with the person if they feel this way, and they will need reassurance. And that's why tops are told to check in with the people they play with within 1 day, and then 3 days, and then a week. Now, if you have an ongoing dynamic, of course, you're checking in with your partner probably several times a day. But even then, make sure you're checking in on your partner in the way of, hey, how you feeling? Any sub drop? It's never something that you should, unless negotiated and discussed, ignore. Asking them invites the conversation. So let's talk about tops. People have talked about top space. Top space, for unlike subspace, should not be the high that a subspace should. Having a top suddenly feel very high and unoriented, you can imagine, could be dangerous. Generally speaking, dom space, top space, often refers more to most, and this is that language thing we talked about in an earlier module. Most people consider this like almost a gear. Like, I heard someone refer to it as like the dom gear, the top gear, where your mind goes into this kind of gear. But some people refer to it as like a space in their brain where they can unleash these certain parts of who they are. So, okay, that works too as a definition. So respecting other people's definitions of things and how things are, kudos. We want to make sure that tops are always in control, though. If you're a top, you shouldn't feel like you're losing control. That's the same reason we don't do the other types of things that would make us feel out of control. We want to always be in control. And tops can actually have a problem where they feel top drop, where after having that, because there will be chemicals, it's an exciting thing. It isn't the same. A top shouldn't have top space in the way that a sub has subspace, again, because of the control thing, but they can have the emotional drop. That is very true. And in the next module, we're going to be talking about aftercare and the importance of aftercare. Check out that module for more on that. But even a top deserves aftercare. And aftercare, by the way, shouldn't just be right after play. Aftercare is also checking in on your partners. So make sure to watch that module coming up next in the playlist. Make sure check out the other videos in the playlist. This goes in the BDSM001 playlist. What is exactly aftercare? As I show off my aftercare bear. So before we get into that, this is a BDSM 001 module. This is about learning the basics of BDSM. In a lot of these videos, we go over the very basics. However, I think this one's important to dive into a little bit because it's the one often most forgotten. So that's why we're bringing it all the way to 001. Before you play with someone, you have to understand that that person might need aftercare. And if you're someone who doesn't like doing certain things, you're going to have to negotiate or not play with that person. You can't just say, I don't do aftercare. We teach that as a red flag behavior. If you're going to interact with a person, they deserve to have the aftercare they need. Now, if you're not a hugger or a cuddler, that's fine. You can sit next to them, get them a water. There are many things. So what are aftercare? Well, I'm going to ask everyone watching this video to put down in the comments what they need. I'm going to give you a few basic examples. Some people want to have blankets wrapped around them. Some people want to cuddle. Some people want a stuffed animal. Some people want food. Some people want like an energy bar, a bottle of water. A lot of screaming can go on with play. So these are some of the things that some people would want after playing. And they might also want to have 10 minutes of quiet. So if you're a top or a dom, do not run in and start asking them what they thought of the scene. Be with them in the moment. Be mindful. This is negotiated, by the way, during your negotiation to have a scene, and it is just important and should be part of the consent package when you're asking for consent. If this is a one-time play, you can do it one time. If you're playing more regularly with someone, then you're going to want to negotiate exactly what it is, including making an aftercare kit bag. If you are someone who plays with multiple partners, I would suggest making your own aftercare play bag, things you might need. Some people like change of clothes. Some people like looser clothes. And like I said, in the comments, people are going to fill in some of the things that are their favorite things. And we'll probably wind up doing a follow-up in the 101 for the things that people suggested to put in your aftercare bag. A few more things: Advil, first aid kit, mouthwash for all that screaming we were talking about. Breath mints could possibly be it. All the things that could help. So aftercare also includes pre-care and going beyond right after the play. So let's explain. Now, even if you don't have a dynamic with the person and you have a way to connect with them, usually maybe a profile on the FetLife, you want to reach out to them within 24 hours, see how they're doing. Then check in 3 days. Now, 3 days, if they seem perfectly fine, and this should be negotiated, you can no longer contact them. However, if they're a partner or in a dynamic with you, you should always be checking in on your partner and just make sure for the first 3 days you're checking with them. What sub-drop is this sudden just dropping of chemicals. We talked about it back in the body chemicals in BDSM. You just suddenly feel like, you ever go to like a giant adventure, go on vacation, you get home and you're just exhausted and you need a vacation from your vacation? That's kind of sub-drop, except depression can form from it, anxiety, feeling, even though you had the bestest time in the whole world, you might feel like the person might not like you for some reason. It doesn't have to make sense. It's an emotional drop. Our chemicals are kind of realigning. This can last up to 7 days. So make sure you're checking in on your partner for at least 7 days. Now, if you're just a play partner or once off, then you do want to still check in within 3 days. And if they show any signs, do not cut communication. Keep the doors open. Maybe check in on them every day. If they are your play partner, your dynamic partner, you'll know how to kind of cheer them up. Now, the pre-care, this is important. So some people pre-care, you're going to have to negotiate. And as a top, you should be making this part of who you are. Top means just the one in charge of the scene. That means any honorific that goes with it. Master, dom. I know some people say that, tops aren't doms and doms aren't tops. And we can get into that later down the road. But for right now, we're going to refer to the top as the person in charge of the scene, doing the implements. They are the ones who should be checking in on the bottoms. Bottoms should not have to check in with the tops unless the top has asked for it. In the negotiation of this, when you're doing the aftercare, a top can say, hey, can you check in on me? Sometimes I feel, I'd really appreciate a text. Always remember, these simple things people are asking don't make them like insurmountable. Just check in on them. Make them feel special as they probably made you feel special. We are in a powered exchange world. That is what BDSM is. So pre-care are the things that you need to make sure as a top that the bottom is done. Have you drank? Have you gone to the bathroom? That's an important one, especially if you're doing rope bondage. Did you take medicine today, like an Advil or especially an aspirin? Aspirin could have different effects. If you're curious, go look it up. but the side effects of aspirin aren't necessarily good for certain reasons in BDSM that we won't discuss here, because it can encourage your behavior. You also want to ask, did you sleep okay? How was work? Are you very stressed? How's your body? Pre-care should also be, do you need to do some stretching before we play? I greatly suggest stretching before playing, even for the tops. Just quick, side to side, touch your toes, kind of do a couple squats, get ready for it. Now, your pre-care is going to look different for everybody, what works for you, but it's basically getting there. Some people want to listen to music for a little bit. Other people might want to go for a walk and a talk. Some people might want to watch a television show if you're not playing in a dungeon and you're playing at home. Some people want to ease into it, especially with as heavy as it can be. So ask the person what their pre-care looks like and make sure to put that into what you're doing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them. If you think I missed something, always add it in the comments section. And remember, it looks different for everyone, and this is an 001, so this is the basics. If you guys want me to do a follow-up video with a few more techniques that I know and I've done, I'm happy to do that. But for right now, especially if you're new, explore what you would need. Sit down and really ask yourself, what would I want to make sure of before? If you're the top, if you're a bottom, what would you want to make sure of too? Make sure you're peeing. In case not European, but you pee. Because you don't want your partner to have to ask that maybe, or maybe you're not there. Take control. Be your own advocate, my friends. So submissive or not, make sure you're taking care of yourself before play. And it's not a common practice for someone to ask if you've peed, especially if someone's new to you. So take it upon yourself, because you don't want to be tied up and suddenly have to pee, especially in suspension. The ropes can push. And there's a bigger conversation here, of course, that we could have. I've given you what I think is appropriate for an 001 module. There's a lot you can play with, and this should be very customizable. So go out there and plan your pre-care and your aftercare and have an amazing scene that is consensual. Remember, just as a bonus, consent is gotten through negotiation, sharing playlists, sharing risk profiles, and all those things. And we're going to talk about a risk profile and a play profile coming up in the modules ahead. Keep watching. This can be found along with all the other videos in our playlist right on top of the first videos on our channel's profile page. We're going to talk about removing consent in just 1 second. First topic of today. When did you first go to your kinky event? Let us know in the comments. How old were you? Not where were you, but just how old were you when you went to your first kinky event? So let's talk about our co-host, Alice, the co-host of Kinks of Our Lives. And we're going to talk about what they said, and we're going to dive into it. We actually took a comment from a Free Hugs and Spakes channel and brought it over here. It was that important to the main educator channel. So let's do it. Never negotiate up mid-scene, but you can always negotiate down. Down is a remove activities you had originally consented to. This includes ending the scene altogether. Removal of consent is always a thing. Renegotiating mid-scene, or as Alice called it, negotiating up, it's frowned upon teaching. We don't teach it. There are people who will want to do it. We say don't do that. If you have open communication with a partner, that's okay. But, I mean, you can pre-plan some things. You could even add a color system where you deliberately pick a color, like a color no one would ever think to use, like meringue. It's actually a Crayola color. So if you say meringue, the person knows that you can now add this that might have matched with it. Or you could even say meringue as the bottom to ask to start to renegotiate. But it's still frowned upon because you're kind of drunk on your own supply, literally because of the chemicals running through your mind. So I don't suggest it, honestly. It's always another day to play, my friends. So it's absolutely right. Removing consent, it is always valid. There's never a time a human being, and I repeat this, and I'm not getting it wrong. There is never a time when a human being cannot remove their consent from something, except after it's already happened. You can't remove consent for something that you did consent to before, and now because you didn't like it, say it wasn't consensual because it didn't feel how you expected it. That is the one and only actual exception to the rule. And that rarely happens. Make sure you're negotiating properly. So at the end of play, you actually knew what to have expected and you asked questions. And tops, it's your responsibility to do that as well. I've heard many cases where someone had felt like their consent was violated because they didn't understand it. CNC could be a perfect example of that. Old school CNC meant do anything you want to the person. That's what it was. That's how CNC started. Consensual, non-consent. Meaning they're consenting to do anything that they have consented to or haven't consented to. Nowadays, we consider it more role play. It is meant to be something that you're doing without asking for permission. It has been pre-planned and pre-negotiated. This is why language matters so much. This is why this was a fascinating topic. And we're actually going to stick this in the consent playlist, which you guys should check out for more information about consent. Check out our playlists. They're still brand new and there's tons of information. It has made the education level of this channel skyrocket. If we were a stock, we'd be a blue chip stock. I think that's right. I have no idea about stocks, but I do know about kink. So if you want to learn more about kink, check out those playlists. They're full of some great kinky information. Thank you to Alice for such an amazing comment. I think this is the first time ever we've taken a comment from Free Hugs and Spanks, our sister site or sister channel, and brought it on to here, the Kink Educator channel. Alice, you broke that crossover's fruit. I don't want to say the other thing. I'm afraid the AI is listening. We're going to talk about removing consent in just 1 second. Hello there, and welcome to BDSM001. And we're going to be talking about playlists, play profiles, and risk profiles in the videos in this section. Right now, we're going to focus on the playlist / play profiles. Now, they're both the same thing. People mention differently what they are. It is basically of the list of the things that you want in your play. Now, if you're just starting off, I got you covered when I created the Desire Index by making the BDSM poo-poo platter, which allowed you to sit down with a partner. Each one of you should just fill these out, and it gives you 2 different pages in the Desire Index to figure out you want bondage, tickling, ice play, electric play, leather restraints. Maybe you're into suspension, although if you're new, I doubt you really are ready to go up in it, or maybe you are and you're playing with an experienced person. Maybe you want impact play. You get to fill this out. Now, of course, the more you want to expand the type of play you have, the more intricate that playlist and or profile is going to be. You're going to be adding things to it. And we even made it have different kind of feels to it in this poo-poo platter, where we had a green for yes, I want it, yellow for maybe, and red for hell no. Now, there are more advanced versions of this that I've created called the BDSM Index, and we have the BDSM or the Kinky Calculator coming soon. So we're always improving and expanding on this. But for BDSM001, this would be a great starting point for you to sit down and do this with yourself. Because before you get to the 101 stuff and begin to play, you should really understand these things. What am I looking for? That's what you need to ask yourself. What are your needs, your expectations, and your wants on your journey right now? That's why we use the new acronym. And I really want you to think about that when you're making this, whether you call it a playlist or a profile. These are the things that I want you to understand for yourself. I want you to start. This is where we make the boundaries. So boundaries are things you don't want to do. This is your first moment to make those boundaries. And you can, I don't really tell people to call, like I've heard, like there are soft boundaries and hard boundaries or limits. Limits are the same thing as boundaries. Soft limits are hard limits. People kind of do this because they want to invite that later renegotiation. I would, and you can use it, it's valid, but I wouldn't call, I would call it all a boundary. But if you want to say, well, there are a couple boundaries I have that I would be willing to renegotiate later, that is the terminology I will actually tell you to use. These are renegotiables. And we'll do a whole video about that next, in between the next video we'll have this one in order, and then the next one will be renegotiating instead of calling them soft and limit. Renegotiables. Welcome to BDSM001, and we're going to tell you what goes with your play profile or playlist. We went over this in a different video. It should be right above this in the playlist for BDSM001, found right on our channel's main profile, right above the videos where the videos start. So let's get into it. What's a renegotiable? So we were talking about boundaries and we've talked about limits, and there's always been this thing that I didn't like. And it was, this is a soft limit. Do we going to have a medium limit too now? Or we're going to have a hard limit? Limits should be by definition limits, period. Let's get rid of the fuzz, because it gets fuzzy when we start doing, when we don't let words have the power they need to have. A limit and a boundary should be a limit and a boundary. So I get it though, because there's some things like right now I really don't want to explore. Let's just say I want to do electric, but I don't want to do electric play that feels sharp. Okay, but I would like to be able to renegotiate that later. Okay, good to know. So a few things that should come with renegotiate. Anything that's a renegotiate, talk with your partner and ask them what that renegotiation is. If you're playing with someone for the first time, or it's meant as a single play, but you might play again in the future, no matter what. If someone tells you that day that this is something that they might want to renegotiate, take it as a no for 24 hours. We're going to put this as a maybe. Remember we talked about maybe? Maybe should be not used, it should not be asked for again within 24 hours. We don't want to coerce or put pressure. Now, it doesn't mean the submissive can't bring it up on their own, but do not adapt to renegotiating in a scene. That leads to problems. Even when a submissive thinks they know what they want, sometimes they'll push their own limits in a way they shouldn't have, and then it gets awkward. So if a sub tries to renegotiate in the middle of a scene, end the scene if you guys have not built a dynamic which can support that. And you're in BDSM001 videos right now, so you're probably not there yet. And you might not ever be, and that's fine. Renegotiation should happen out of scenes. So a renegotiable is going to be something that the submissive is saying, and you know, a dom could also call something a renegotiable if it had to do with contact with the dom and things that are done to the dom, including bragging. So it's not just the submissive things. Remember, we all negotiate and set our boundaries. And yes, tops have boundaries and limits. So keep that in mind. All of us involving here have the right to declare what our limits are. And if a limit happens to be renegotiable, you can put it up there, and that's something to keep in mind. I would say do not constantly ask about a renegotiable. Do not put pressure to get a renegotiable greenlit. And don't be the person who keeps hounding someone about a renegotiable. And if you are someone who is going to be allowing something and go, I would like to renegotiate something, don't do it as like a tease. Be forward. If the renegotiable is something you want to try now, plain English. If a renegotiable is something you want to learn more about and say, hey, there's something I kind of want to renegotiate with you, but first I need more information about it. Can we take a few minutes and talk about this? Be very open to this. Be very honest about this. And if you can't teach it, take the time to get to know more about it and come back to the conversation. You can do a preliminary one, but do not start, especially if you're the one in the dynamic with more experience. And notice I didn't say sub or dom, because sometimes submissives have more experience than doms. So if you're the person with more experience and you don't know, don't make things up as you go. Your partner might actually know more, even if they're the submissive. Even if they're the one who made it a renegotiable, could maybe answer your questions. But that might be one of the things that you want to ask about. Remember to always ask about someone's experience. That is super important. Experience is the thing you need to ask in your preliminary vetting. Vetting is going to be more of a 101 class, not an 001 class, because first we want to get you ready and prepped. So to go over this, stop using soft limits, stop using soft boundaries, and just call them renegotiables later. So call it as a boundary. Like, look, I don't want to do tickling. Don't want to do it. I'm going to put that as a boundary. I'm going to put it as a hard limit. But later down the road, it could be a renegotiable. This defines. It is a boundary. It could be renegotiable. This is a way to send a message that it could happen, but it will need negotiation. I think it is a better way to go forward. Stay tuned for our next in the series, BDSM001, as we talk about a risk profile, which kind of will include some of this very quickly. We're going to wind up bringing this back up in that video. Renegotiables. Welcome to BDSM. You know, it's a really important question people constantly forget to ask their partners, especially when it's new and you're going to play with someone brand new. Well, this is a BDSM001 series, so let's get to it. It's very important to know what they know. What's their education? What do they know about every topic that you want to talk about? Feel free to ask them. Just don't ask for the general, like education. Hey, how'd you learn? Well, I've been in the community 20 years. Being in the community for 20 years doesn't mean anything. You've been part of the online community. You've just been going to munches. Doesn't mean you're educated. How'd you learn to do ropes? I was a Boy Scout. Okay, there's a start. And then I went to a bunch of rope classes. Fantastic. And what do you know? And you said you wanted to do suspension with me. What do you know about suspension? Oh, I've seen pictures online. Ooh, time out. Not the same. See how education matters? You want to know before you get to know the hard way. So before you play with someone, no matter what it is, ask them how they got educated on the thing they're about to do to you. Or if you're a top or a dom, make sure to ask, have you ever experienced this? And explain things you might think they want to know. Like, hey, if we're going to do tickle torture, you might want to go to the bathroom unless you have another kink. Always flex that knowledge. It's sexy. You know what? Welcome to BDSM 101. What's a kink? What's a compeller? What's a fetish? So let's talk about this a little bit. So kink is defined very differently. For this channel, we're going to call a kink something that you have an intimate relationship with something that is a desire of yours, or something you want to try that is not generally or at all found in the vanilla culture. Understand the word kink comes from the vanilla culture, saying the things that we did were a kink. In other words, a kink to being normal. They made it. We're going to run with it. It's just too well known now. I'm the kink educator, not giving it back. So every time we talk about it, we're going to talk about it the way it is. It's something vanilla people don't do. It's basically what a kink is. It's not on the regular menu. You got to get the adult menu. I would say you have to change your perspective. When you're kinky, you see things differently. So that's what a kink is. You're going to hear other people define it differently. It's one of those words that doesn't have a concrete idea. Even the history is kind of lost. The basic idea is like if you get a kink in a hose, usually it bends and the water won't go through it because it's not going the path it's supposed to go. It's kink shaming, but we wouldn't have the word kink shaming without kink, right? So then there used to be fetish, but I realized recently that fetish has become a kink that is sexual. Oof. What about all the people who don't do kinks as something that's asexual? A kink, a fetish itself is something someone's really drawn to. They need it in their life. What if I need a kink in my life? But if I just call it a kink, it sounds like it's something that might be something someone's just doing on the weekend, but to me, it's a little bit more. So I came up with a new word, compeller. It's catching on. It's an easier way to teach this, especially to someone else. If you just meet someone and you go, hey, I have really no fetishes, but I have a bunch of compellers. These are things that I want. And I don't want the other side of it. I don't want it to be sexual play. So these are my compellers. This sends a signal to someone. These are not things I want to become sexual. I want them, but without the sexual components. And a fetish is a sexual component. It is going to end sexually. And it is about it's about the kink and sex joining hands and becoming one. You have any more questions about this? Feel free to hit me up in the comments section. This has been a BDSM001 video. Look in the playlist right on top of all the videos on our channel's main profile for more information or questions, or if you want something answered. Thanks for BDSM001 quick tip. Not everyone's your friend. Don't add them as a friend on any social media platform right away. Make people earn your friendships. Nowadays, people can follow each other. Start every new relationship, whether it's going to be a friendship or potentially something more, something of a play partner or beyond, Start it as following each other. Don't jump into being friends. Make them wait to give your number, to get your number. Take it easy. Take it slow. Not everyone's got to be your friends. Don't make it a popularity contest. Get to know people, because I guarantee you all the people who are trying to be your friends aren't all good people. There's some predators, some drama, and some other problems with people. So stay clear of those problems by making someone earn your friendship. You're worth it. You're amazing. Your friendship should come by being earned, don't you think? A BDSM001 quick tip. A BDSM001 quick tip. So here we go. Just the tip for today is, guess what, submissives? The DOMs are your responsibility. If you're bottoming, if you're a submissive, you have to take care of the top. And how can you take care of the top? You should be communicating with them if anything feels tickly, if anything feels numb, if something's going wrong. They want you to tell them. Safe word when you need to. Keep the communication going in play. And even before play, honesty is necessary. Don't hide things from the people you're playing with. Be honest. They want to enjoy the scene. They don't want you to suffer through it, because guess what? If they can read body language, you're going to ruin it for them. So your responsibility is to keep the top dom or any honorific in the know. So take care of them. A BDSM001 quick. If you're a dominant or a top and you're playing with someone who is submitting to you or is bottoming for you, their safety is your responsibility. Their education is your responsibility. Getting consent properly using diaper. Did I ask permission? Extensive representation, your responsibility. And using the new acronyms, the needs, the expectations of the wants of the submissive, also your responsibility. It's what BDSM is, so get it done. This is a BDSM001 quick take. Go look at the rest of the playlist found right above the videos on our main profile page for more BDSM001 information. If you're a dominant or a top and you're playing with someone who is submitting to you or is bottoming for you, I am dominant. You will listen to this BDSM quick tip. Sounded stupid, right? Because we didn't negotiate anything yet. This quick tip is for 001, and it goes to everything in BDSM. Negotiations don't come with demands. Negotiations are conversations. Talk to your partner, whether you're any honorific. If you want something or want to explore something with a partner, have conversations. Don't put demands. That's coercion. We don't coerce when we're getting consent. Go look up consent. It's on this channel in one of the playlists. This has been a quick tip. Remember, don't make demands of partners. Have conversations with them and find mutual desires to explore together. Wait, slow down. You don't have to rush the BDSM process and the kinky process. You're new. Take a moment. Enjoy it. Don't rush it. Don't race through it. And certainly don't take shortcuts. Make sure you're getting the education. This is a BDSM 001 quick tip. So start small before you jump in without knowing what you're getting into. Wait, slow down. You don't have to rush the BDSM 001 quick tip. Honesty is necessary. Do not lie in BDSM. We need to trust each other. If we can't trust each other, we can't play with each other. We can't build dynamics. If you're lying to a partner, you're ruining any ability to build something meaningful. Don't do it. And lying to a partner could be considered predatory. BDSM 001. This is a BDSM 001 video, and we're going to talk about what the difference of a top, bottom, or what the difference between a bottom and a sub is, /slave. Yeah, it gets tricky. Wait till we get to switches. And then top and bottom versus each other. I figured we'd combine this to make it kind of more together. And we'll even explain what a switch is to kind of get you started so you know where you are. Understand that there are honorifics and kind of drilled down more specific terms. This is 001, so we're going to keep it very basic. So let's start. For every scene, you need someone to be the bottom. They have to be the one that it takes or is allowing someone to do something to them. That is the bottom position in the power exchange. All of BDSM is power exchange. Kinks can limit if there's an actual power exchange, but that's more advanced and for later. For today, we're doing BDSM 001, and all BDSM 001 is a form of power exchange because someone has to allow something to happen to them. So the bottom is the one allowing it. The top is doing it. Now, later on, you'll learn about service bottoms and tops. Simply put, but we can explore it later. A service top is someone who doesn't normally top, but is doing it to provide a service to another person. Same thing with the bottom. It's just someone trying to get to play with someone and have fun, but they're not really that role. So top and bottom are a role. So now we're going to go to Dom versus sub. So a Dom is a dominant person. This is actually a bit of a character change from just being a top. A top's just someone running the scene, right? But a dominant person wants control. They are looking for control. They want to own the scene. They want to make the scene. They are the writer of the scene. A submissive enjoys, unlike a bottom who might just be bottoming for something to feel and have an experience. A submissive is going to like having the feeling of not just what it is, but submitting to it, having someone have the control. They're enjoying that aspect of it. So then for the bottom, of course, we have bottom, sub, and slave. Slave, it's complicated. I'm going to tell you how I teach it. A slave is a person who is allowing things to happen to them with the negotiation, still having their safe words and all the safety protocols in place. No human being goes without an ability to withdraw consent at any time. However, a slave is an ongoing dynamic where it is constant. It is constantly going. And the big difference between the sub and the slave, a lot of times comes down to someone could be a submissive and never have any tawdry stuff happening. In other words, no, happy endings. No contact of the nature of, well, intimate in a very intimate way. I'm trying not to say the S word because I don't want to get us in trouble, because that does get us in trouble sometimes. So we're going to behave. If you don't know what I mean, send me a message. I'll tell you. So they will allow that partner to have them in any way they want. But it is still pre-negotiated. And if it isn't on the table already and negotiated, it has to be negotiated before someone does it. There is no blanket consent. Blanket consent actually means, and we should have done this as a separate video and probably will, but blanket consent, as a matter of fact, I'm going to write this down. Hold on. So we will get to blanket consent later. These are more advanced things. We'll save that for a 101 class. So stay tuned. And let's get into a switch. So now, a switch is someone who enjoys topping and bottoming. They could also enjoy being a top and a submissive, meaning they enjoy topping, but they're not very much a dominant. They could also be a dominant and a bottom. They don't enjoy submitting, but they like the feeling of some things that come in submission. A little confusing. Let the switch tell you who they are. And finally, very end of this, I just wanted to take a moment and really explain to you that these are arbitrary. Your partner is going to guide you to who they are, and you're going to negotiate everything, and you're going to do things through that. These are just terms, and there's other terms that people use that better define how they feel about this lifestyle and who they are. Don't get confused by it all. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Just ask the person what they mean with the titles that they're using, the honorifics they might want you to call them, and have that bigger conversation with them. But that's in 101, as we'll bring up honorifics later. Make sure to check out all the different videos above our videos on our channel's main profile. There's the playlists there. Check out BDSM 101, go beyond BDSM 01. And if you missed something, check out BDSM 001 and see what videos you might not have seen yet. So what exactly is BDSM? In this BDSM 001, we will define BDSM now. To understand, BDSM currently is used as an umbrella term, which means many things fall under this umbrella term. Basically, if it's BDSM, it's some sort of power exchange. I couldn't tell you everything that's under that umbrella. It's not just all kinks. There's kinks, compellers, and fetishes. We'll do a whole video on that as well so you understand that, so stay tuned. But in this BDSM001, let me explain what BDSM started and know that it's just an umbrella term for anything kinky and kinky, a compeller, or a fetish. And you'll understand that later when you get to that video in the BDSM001 series. Here we go. BDSM stands for bondage, dominance, sadomasochist, slave master. I think at one point there was another thing that went for B and D too. They originally started as different things. There was SM, which still stands for sadomasochist, or slave master. There was bondage and dominance, and it's bothering me. I don't know the other one, but it's not that important because what's more important is to know BDSM now stands for an umbrella term, meaning many things come underneath this umbrella term, from bondage to electric play to impact play and so much more beyond. There's a lot that goes on in BDSM. We, of course, call ourselves the BDSM/kink community. A lot of times people will say kink if it has something to do that with might not have power exchange. There are a few things that are kinky that aren't BDSM. Off the top of my head, since I'm making this video and it's informative, one of the things that I would say that doesn't necessarily fall under, believe it or not, the BDSM umbrella, you'd have to add things for it too, would be something as simple as choking someone, a popular vanilla thing. If it's not about dominance and it's just about the high that people get from that now and that are doing it in the vanilla world, I wouldn't say that's necessarily BDSM, but it could be if it's involving a power dynamic, which is where we go back to BDSM. If you have any more questions about this or have some thoughts on it, leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you. Check out the rest of the videos in the BDSM001 series to make sure you're educated and ready to play. Welcome to BDSM 101, and we're going to talk about communication, something that should be very obvious as we all communicate, but I need you to stop and think about this from now on before you communicate with someone. As machines, because the human body is kind of a machine, it's a bioelectric machine, and our minds too, we're response machines. What do I mean by that? A lot of times you're not thinking, you're responding, you're quick, you're just saying what comes to the top of your head in the moment. When we're communicating with people, I need you to kind of realize it's not a trivia show. You don't have to get it out right away. And it's not important to be first to say something. It is better to be mindful, especially when we're communicating with partners and trying to build things. Communication should be thought out. So if someone asks you, hey, are you into this? And your immediate answer is like, oh, no, that's disgusting. You need to take a minute, take a breath and go, okay, that's not my kink. But this person I'm talking to, maybe they are into it. I know this is going to be a hard limit for me. So I guess I should say a hard limit. Or maybe it's something like, maybe I really don't understand it. Maybe I can ask them what it is to them. This is communication. It's asking questions. It's trying to get better understanding and then responding when informed about what you're talking about. Because to someone, bondage could be just simple spread eagle using Velcro cuffs. And for other people, it is, I'm going to have you in a predicament tie where if you even move, it's going to hurt a lot. So you want to get into the minutia. I hate that for this lifestyle, but when it comes to play and things we're into, yeah, we're going to get into a lot of minutia. This is a complicated lifestyle. That doesn't get said enough. The kinky lifestyle is not simple. We are in a very complicated, negotiated, driven lifestyle that's going to need communication. Communication should be honest. Do I need to do a video to define honest? Honest is really how you feel. We have this tendency to try to hold things back. Oh, they're really cute, so I'm going to be into what they're into. And then you start doing it and you can tell on your face. Like for me, wax play. I have nothing against wax play. Every so often it can be cute and it can be added onto something and it's decorative. But it's not really my thing. It would never list it as a kink of mine. I mean, a compeller of mine or a fetish of mine. But the kink, sure, I'll do it on occasion. But I would never turn around and go, ooh, that's disgusting. And I've even learned scat is one of those things where sometimes we communicate poorly. Now, scat, I have zero interest in. It is not my flavor. But it doesn't mean I have to put someone down for it. I don't have to be like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Are you into it? No. We want to be mindful with communication. We want it to be effective to not just represent ourselves, but show that we are the person who, at least we should want to be, a very open-minded person, and realize we shouldn't judge other people. We should also be answering the questions with thought, not quick responses. I hate when people, when I talk to people, I'm like, hey, what are you into? Oh, I'm into anything. This is someone who hasn't taken the time to go on a journey. Could be someone who is suffering from what is called frenzy. We're going to define that in this BDSM 101 series, found in a playlist right above our videos on our profile page where you can go. Just look it up. That'll be in there. And we want to make sure that we're representing ourselves in the way that we want a person to know things about us. This is a fact-finding moment for the other person. So realize what you're telling them, they're going to now be basing certain things on. So honesty, the proper words being used, the proper thought into it. So when we say communication, it's not just meant to be like, are you into kink? Yeah. What are your kinks? All of them. What's your limits? I don't have any. That's someone not engaging in a real conversation with us. We want someone to be like, and I'll give you a tip. If someone asks you that, I want you to be in the moment. And if you don't know how to honestly answer it, be like, well, I like exploring kinks. What are some of yours? And now you can find connective tissue. Because let me explain, in communication, a lot of people are going to try to be nice to you, and they're going to let you go first. And if you're ever put in the position to go first and you're not ready, or you want to feel it out, or maybe you are someone who's into a lot of things and it feels overwhelming to really let it all out, you just start with, well, what are you into? And then see if you guys can connect. It's one of those things where if you're talking to someone, you're communicating with someone, you want to give them information. You want to fill them with the answers that they're looking for. Because if they're trying to communicate with you, they have questions that they want answers to. So take the time. The message of communication is getting out as much as you can without overdoing it. So we'll finish the video this way. If someone asks you what your kinks are, they do not want a Wikipedia page. They don't want everything. I want you, if you have to sit down and think about what are your top 5 kinks. Now, you can put your fetishes in with the kinks, you can put your compellers, and you can even identify it. For me, example, if someone came up to me and I knew they were trying to, I'm polyamorous, they're trying to get to know me and see if they want to play with me, and we're having a conversation. If they said, so what are your kinks? I wouldn't turn around and correct them first off and be like, well, do you mean a kink, a compeller, or a fetish? Because they're different. Keep that shit off to the side. If I wanted to bring like my compellers, because it's a word I made and they might not know it, this is how I'd handle that exact conversation. Oh, well, I'm definitely into ropes, love bondage. I would even classify that as a compeller of mine. And if they stopped and asked what a compeller was, I'd fill them in, and then I'd continue to communicate my list. I would say power exchange, love sadist stuff, love getting someone to tear, love domination. Domination to me is being able to like have someone bend to your feet and show you respect. And those are kind of the things that I'm really into. But, electric play is fun. I like sharp play. Impact is something, a lot of these things are, this is who I am. And that gives enough for another person to jump in. I didn't go down everything. I didn't stop with bondage and go, oh, with ropes, it's bondage. And bondage, I can do suspension. I can do, pretty ties, as I call it, which a lot of you call shibari, which is another topic for another day. I can do predicament, ties, torture ties. You don't list it all off because you want, in communication, a conversation. You want them to pick what they want to talk about and start building on that. Also, a few tips. Don't overdo it with getting too excited about saying something. If they say, oh, I'm really into like suspension. Oh my God, I love suspension. Oh my God, do you know what I did? You know what this is? Let them finish talking. When they're done talking and they look at you, there'll be a pause. You can be like, oh, suspension's fun. Yeah, I enjoy suspension. You can say, I really love suspension. But make sure to pivot back. Communication is making sure you're keeping the conversation. You're not becoming a lecturer. You don't want to be someone who's now taking a platform or a podium or getting on a soapbox and starting to tell them. Have a back and forth. Communication is back and forth. If you want to become an educator, become an educator. When someone's trying to talk to you and they're giving you time, make sure to reward that time by letting them be part of the conversation. Don't tell them all the things you want and go like it's a checklist. Have a conversation. That is what communication is. If you want to have them fill out books like, here we go, right here, we have it, the desire index, have them fill it out and then have the conversation with them and communicate your likes, your wants, your desires. Remember NEW, the acronym, needs, expectations, wants. Invite them to bigger conversations. That's what communication is, a conversation that is meaningful because you want to communicate something. You're trying to get something across to the other person. Don't get lost. See how I got distracted in my ADHD and I realized I had to bring it back in to have this conversation with you to communicate the importance of things? Think about it. Go out there and be kinky. Check out the other BDSM001 videos. Oh my God, what is frenzy? And is it contagious? We're going to fill you in this BDSM 101. Make sure that you look at all the other videos in there. Believe it or not, I recorded this straight through 10 minutes of pure gold. Probably the best video I ever made. And it deleted itself. Talk about being in a frenzy. Just kidding. But we do have to understand that frenzy is an emotional response. It does come from emotions, adrenaline, and body chemicals. And it isn't something that is contagious, obviously. It's not something that makes your partner a bad person. And it's not something that can be avoided. Sometimes we've had it all. You've had a crush where you felt like you just needed to talk to the person. You've had chocolate fiending for it. And it's just that intense. Oh my goodness. But its experience and how to deal with it and which side of the slash you're on is very different. So let's start with the submissive side. So a lot of times the submissive, as shown perfectly in Sunstone with the self-bondage scene, where someone wasn't listening to everyone. By the way, Sunstone, lesbian couple dealing and building a BDSM dynamic. Love it. So I really want to stress this to you. Go read that. But frenzy can be dangerous for a bottom that is too addicted to an idea, too much wanting something, and really stressing, needing it done to them immediately. This is where a submissive type will take more damage, allow someone to hit them harder than ever. They are just obsessed with an idea. Now, a lot of times, as a top that is seasoned, that knows what they're doing, it's not too hard to deal with someone. You go for a walk, you have a meal, you kind of talk to them. You get to reasonable expectations, you kind of try to get them down from the highs. Sometimes and look, if I have a partner who's frenzied and what they're asking for is just an experience, I will play with them. I know it's controversial, but I will play with them personally, but I'll also monitor. I won't hit them harder than I've ever hit them. If anything, this is going to be a status quo play. And I'm going to let them know I'm not going further because I don't think that you're in the right mindset right now. I can see what's happening to your body, and you're going to like what you see when we're done. What are we, Men's Head Warehouse right now? But you're going to like what we're doing. You're going to like the marks. We're getting there. Just shut up and let me do my thing. And a lot of times, subspace, believe it or not, cures frenzy. Because sometimes that's exactly what they're chasing, is trying to get back to subspace. Because unlike subspace, frenzy is more addictive. It's like subdrop, but in a different way. Because subdrop makes you sad. This makes you want it. And I know some people compare it to being horny. I don't really like the reference because one is just trying to get one simple feeling, the happy ending, the explosion, while the play itself, I believe it is trying to get to subspace. So it's completely different. It is finding that euphoric moment. And this happens a lot to new people, but don't get it twisted. You can have a partner who's been doing this 10 years that will experience frenzy every so often, especially if they've been introduced to something new. This is not a moment to tell them they need therapy. This is not a moment to judge them. This is not a moment to say that you can't play with them because they're being weird. You want to be very calm, considerate, and communicative. Hey, this isn't how you normally act. You really want this, and I can tell, but I'm a little concerned about that. I'm concerned how much you're trying to push for things. This isn't your normal way. Let's take a beat. Let's talk about this. I'm not saying I won't play with you. I'm saying I want to know what's going on. How do you feel? Let's try to make a plan. And you'd be surprised. A lot of times what will wind up happening is they'll calm down on their own with some reassurance. Hey, we're going to do this again. You're going to get there. I promise we're going to keep playing. But if you're this frenzy, you might not even be able to get to subspace. You might actually get in your own way, and then you can get frustrated. We want to start our play in a good spot, a good way. We want to make sure that we are in a safe space with each other, an accepting environment. Because right now, you're not even thinking of me as a human being. You're making me a plastic piece. And all I'm here is to distribute something to you like I'm a Pez dispenser. And we've heard that, Doms who feel like Pez dispensers. Gimme, 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 gimme. I want to know that what we're dealing with is a power exchange, and I'm not just giving you something you need. And that's the only reason you called me, unless you guys play that way. I'm not trying to shame that kind of just playing with play partners when you're in the mood, but I'm saying in a dynamic, because you'll usually see frenzy more in dynamics. But if you do pick up play and someone suddenly comes on too hard about something, wants to try something you're not experienced with, but they're begging you to be there first. You're looking for things that don't make sense, especially with frenzy. My God, I need this. No, please, please, please. Oh, I'll be so good. You can do anything you want to me. You know that thing that was a hard limit that you wanted to do to me? If you do this right now, you can do that all day long. Understand they are high. Treat them as someone who's high. If you don't have ongoing blanket consent with them, especially if they happen to be under a substance, you should not engage. And tell them, I don't feel comfortable right now. I don't want to be your regret. Trust me, they'll respect you later for doing this. And later on, they'll tell you, oh, you could have. But they wanted to know they could be safe, because sometimes the reaction there is also not really in their control, and they're expecting you as a partner to have their back and get them back to one. And if someone experiences frenzy, you can keep playing with them. You're not causing it. There's a lot of body chemicals that go into what we play with subspace and sub drop. This is just part of the lifestyle. Our lifestyle is complicated. It is not simple. This is a complicated lifestyle, not meant for vanilla people. You got to invest so much more in this. So please be considerate of your partner. Now, I did say we're going to talk about both sides of the slashes on this. Let me explain to you the top side. Now, my God, let me take a breath here. My God, the top side with frenzy is very dangerous, because these are the people, the tops, who keep the boundaries in order. They write the script. They're the ones who making sure that consent is followed and boundaries are accepted. So if they suddenly start frenzying, those things are all at risk. So I'm going to say something completely different than I said. While a top can make the decision, and they don't have to play with someone in frenzy, but they could if they think that they can kind of bring them down, or they think they can do it safely, and they will keep the boundaries no matter what they beg for. They won't pass the boundaries, and they'll understand that this is emotion. A bottom should never subject themselves to that, especially if they're going to be without a voice, especially if the person really does normally have a lot of control in a scene, because at this moment, it's not that they're going to suddenly become a bad person, but they are high. Think of them as drunk. If your top suddenly seems very drunk and you know they weren't drinking and they're pushing to do things you don't normally do, or they're really coming hard for something, be like, whoa, let's take a break. Let's take a walk. And if they ask you what's up, be like, you're scaring me. I love that you want me. I love that you want to play with me. But right now, it doesn't seem like you want to play with me. You just want to do things to someone. And I'm afraid that you're going to ruin our entire dynamic in just moments, because you're so kind of not there on autopilot and just trying to get a high from play. And you're scaring me. This is not okay. I don't want to be your plastic piece if you're not going to protect me. I don't want to be a plastic piece. I want to be a person with a soul that you do all the awful things to, but when you're in control. I like you because you are in control. You're slipping right now. You don't feel like you're in control, and you're scaring me. Use language like that. Be honest with them. Sometimes you'd be amazed that that's just enough. I've had a lot of bottoms, and a few tops talk to me about their experiences with this. I have never experienced it, but I have experienced wanting something really badly. You know, we all have as kids, so I understand it. I guess I'm in more control a lot of the times, and that's from being neurodivergent, always having to be in control. Understand, I constantly fight for control of myself with neurodivergency. So when it comes to kink, it's something I love. I protect it. I protect my partners. They're not plastic pieces. But I don't allow myself to have frenzy. And I think a lot of tops know this. I think frenzy in a top is usually more so exclusively to new tops, because they don't realize, they haven't learned really how to hold back yet. There is a learning curve with holding back, believe it or not, learning how to hit the same way, same spot. I mean, it's more difficult than it sounds. Everyone thinks it's easy till they're trying to do it. But when you're in frenzy, the fear is you're not in control. So don't play with your partner when they're in frenzy. What's the time you need for them to cool off? I'm going to just say it this way: until you feel comfortable, until you think you can trust them. You might see your partner frenzying a little bit, and they might even be able to say, hey, look, I feel weird. I feel like I really want this. Can we go for a walk? Because sometimes you could literally walk it out because it's a body chemical thing, and it's just about re-regulating your chemicals. It doesn't make anyone bad. Tops, if you're feeling it, don't risk it. Tell them you need a walk. Take a cold shower. Do something to get yourself back to zero. And I mean zero, your normal line, because you're experiencing cliffs and endorphin highs, and you don't want to make a mistake that can ruin your dynamic and forever make you regret a moment. They're always human beings you're playing with, not plastic pieces. So even if you have to protect them from yourself, do that.
Welcome to BDSM 101, where we go over the basics to the.
Before we go any further, let's have our discussion. Well, we did it. We made it to the end. This is going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes for BDSM 001. We will get you the BDSM 101 playlist very soon. Stay tuned on that. Hit the subscribe button. Find out more information at kinkforall.site, KINK4ALL.site. We look forward to hearing from you, talking to you, and continuing your kinky education. Thanks for tuning in. And we're going to give you an official sign-off here. BDSM is not inherently sexual. We communicate, negotiate. We share play profiles, safety protocols, risk profiles, medical history, aftercare needs, and the new acronym to find out our needs, expectations, and wants in our scenes and our dynamics. And only then, with garage time put in place to tune up our dynamics, do we earn consent, empowering domination in our dynamics and our play spaces, and all of us are rewarded for it. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you later at the next one.